Huge news coming out of Russia right now. Russian and Crimean parliament signed treaty of accession. You can see Vladimir Putin right here. This is during his speech that gave him a standing ovation for what he said and what he's done. Russia effectively absorbed Crimea on Tuesday afternoon, moments after Putin declared that Russia has no designs on any other part of the Ukraine. He said, "This is all, this is it, this was ours before," and in the second paragraph suggesting a reunification with Russia. So he's saying that this is part of Russia, it should have been theirs before, and now they're simply reuniting each other. And now further down, you see that the Kremlin said it considers this treaty to be in force even though the before the parliament has ratified it. This reminds me of the executive orders written in by the Obama administration, where Obama just signs on the dot and says, "This is all, this is it, and this is law, and don't worry about the Congress, don't worry about the parliament, and more specifically, don't worry about the people." But you can see these individuals down here in the bottom left corner where they are clearly happy. However, we don't know really what to believe. This is an article that continuously updates, so I will put this in the description and you can click on it and see the latest updates. The EU will not recognize the annexation. So if I go into the further paragraph, I'll scroll up. The European Union does neither recognize the illegal and illegitimate referendum in Crimea nor its outcome. The EU does not and will not recognize the annexation of Crimea and Sevastopol to the Russian Federation. That is a very bold statement indeed by Barroso and Van Rompuy. And they've said that they do not recognize it so clearly. At this point, this is definitely not over. And I would like to go in further, and they suggested that there has been military action. In fact, one individual is now reported to be dead, and says right here, the conflict is moving from a political one to a military one because of Russian soldiers. So there has been an actual military action that has taken place, and this is quite an escalation here. Hopefully this is where it stops and it was just an accident or something, because we do not need any more innocent people dying. Obama and Putin at a breaking point right now. I'd like to discuss how 200 U.S. airmen and 12 F-16s are in Poland, and they're saying this is part of a longer-term strategy. However, this is clearly and obviously a direct response from the intervention that's going on in the Ukraine right now. Ron Paul wrote an article, I just want to point out one part from it, and he suggested, where were all the people in their uprising during what happened in Iraq? Nobody cared. Everyone was all for that war, other than a small minority, and he's suggesting, where were these people? And of course, there wasn't any uproar. There was nothing going on with that. And the last thing I want to mention is that Putin says the U.S. is guided by the rule of the gun in foreign policy. So if I go into his actual quote, our Western partners headed by the U.S. prefer not to be guided by international law in their practical policies, but by the rule of the gun. And he is making some very bold statements towards the U.S., towards the West, and he is clearly not afraid, because he got the military, went right into Crimea. They signed this, they ratified this, and apparently, according to Russia at least, this is the law. Let's see where this goes, and I'm quite certain that this is not over yet. The U.S. is threatening sanctions back, and Putin is threatening more sanctions back on them. This will be undoubtedly something part of history to look back on too. I'd like you all to get onto the Money GPS Insiders. That is an extension of the work I do here. That is in-depth analysis. That is all kinds of things that I didn't get to in my book, and things I don't get into on the YouTube channel. I can bring it to you, and I can send it right to your email inbox, and you'll get occasional emails from me as I work on them, and I hope you all will join the rest on there. Take care.